Yes. CrossYaas Podcast, which is Mirasol and Billy.
Countdown. Welcome to the CrossYaas Podcast, a podcast that says yas, cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender. I'm your trans woman host, Billy, and today's special guest is Billy, but also Sarah. You may remember Sarah from such episodes as the Curi-YAAS conversation with Sarah.
And
or many of the
with you.
Yeah, or many of the other times. You interviewed me. It was like 2 a.m. for me. I interviewed you, and it was 2 a.m. for you. And you're coming all over. Coming all over. No, you're
not for a while. Not for a while, hun. Not for a while.
You're beaming across the internet all the way from across the pond in the Scotland.
Gals.
Yeah. So Sarah, if you wouldn't mind doing a little quick reintroduction of yourself for the folks that may have not listened to your episode or maybe just want a refresher.
Sure. So my name's Sarah. I am a trans woman. I live on the west coast of Scotland. And I've been on the Discord now for 2.5 years, maybe, roughly, something like that. And I'm obviously an avid listener of all of the episodes. I have been interviewed twice. I have interviewed Billy once. So this will be the second time that I'm getting to have a chat with Billy, because this is more about Billy than me today.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see where this all goes. I don't think we have anything like... Well, I don't have anything specifically planned. Maybe you do.
No, not really. I think today will probably more be a sort of chat about what's happening in the world just now, because I think as trans people, especially, the world just seems a little bit more dangerous just now.
Definitely.
Both in your country and to a lesser extent mine.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty insane. It really, I don't know, it makes me want to be more me, like out of spite than anything. I don't know. Maybe that's not even the right way to put it, but like...
No, I think you're right. This... I guess I don't want to say rebellious, because I don't think it is rebellion. I think it's just being who we are. And if other people wish to call that rebellion, then sure, or rebellious. I think you're right, though. The fact that these people are wanting to shut us up and shut us down and kick us out the country or whatever it happens to be, just makes us want to be us even more. And I guess I am a little bit of rebellion. I'm very active in union sort of circles and do a lot of conferences. And last year I actually spoke at an anti-racism rally in London, where the former leader of the party who are now in government was speaking before me. So I actually shared a stage with him. He was literally in front of me. Meant to have 2.5 minutes, he got like 8 minutes. So then I went out there and I was like, hey, Jeremy, how do you follow that? Because, somebody who was, very much into public speaking, where I've spoken at conferences, but that was the first time I'd spoken at something like that. I think I'd done all right though. I did get a cheer, and when I was going back through the crowd, I had a few people told me well done and things like that. So yeah, I think the things that are happening just now are bringing activism out in a lot more people. A lot more people are starting to realise that if they don't stand up now, it's going to be worse for everybody. I think with things that are happening in America, and obviously I'm only seeing it from the news outlet rather than being there firsthand, but from what we're seeing, he doesn't give a fuck about anybody.
No, no. We're just a scapegoat, but he doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself.
You know, I mean, the man from Maryland, who's now in or was in an El Salvador prison. Oh, we can't get him back. We can't get him back. Somebody goes down and went, well, there you go. You know, he doesn't care. I've seen, you know, whether it's real or not, yeah, he's not coming back. We're not going to let him back in. His family are better off without him. All that sort of stuff. And it just boggles the mind that he managed to win that presidency. However, over here, if all the polls are true just now, we have a party called Reform, who are an ultra right-wing party, whose leader Nigel Farage lives in Trump's arse.
People like to do that
because he kisses it so much. He could be a prime minister of the UK, which means that we're repeating the same mistake that happened 100 years ago with the rise of Nazi Germany. And I've been saying this since about 2016, 2017, that's where we're going, and unfortunately it is. Sorry to be so deep so early.
No,
in the
it's
conversation.
You know, this stuff needs to be talked about, needs to be said. I'm sure there's probably some listeners that maybe disagree with us, or maybe they don't see it this way, but you know, this is the reality of things going on in the world. And you know, I know maybe it's crazy to even just say, oh, it's, you know, like Nazism, it's Nazi shit, but like it fucking is. Look at the parallels. It's the exact same shit. They're literally fucking doing Nazi salutes.
You know, that people say, oh, it's not Nazism, because they're on the side of the Jews, and you're like, yeah, Nazis didn't start off with the Jews. Nazis started off with the communists, with the political opponents, with the gay men. You know, those are trans women. You know, because it wasn't ever trans men. Trans men almost didn't seem to exist back then either.
Yeah.
Trans men are out there. Trans men are 50% of the trans population. Nobody's talking about them. It's literally scapegoating for political clout, and people believe it. We're just the target this time.
Oh, I know, I know.
And I'm pretty sure this will happen again in 100 years' time or whenever, and it'll be something else. We can't see that far in the future, obviously. Maybe it'll be white people, you know, because at the end of the day, white people are the minority in this world. But yeah, it's kind of scary.
Kind of scary, isn't it? White people being a minority. Kind of scary, isn't it?
It's scary.
Sorry, we don't all live in that privilege. Yeah. Or, you know, even some of us have given up a lot of privilege.
Well, without a doubt. And the support I've seen, though, from so many people in Facebook, because obviously earlier this week in the UK, there was a legal decision that was a bit of a shock to a lot of people. I kind of saw it coming, but there was a bit of it that shocked me. So in the UK, we get what's called a gender recognition certificate, and that certificate is a legal change that means you are seen as the sex/gender of your presentation. To get that, you need a medical diagnosis of gender incongruence, dysphoria, whatever you wish to call it, and you have to prove that you've lived in that gender for 2 years. And it's a 3-person panel. It's a horrible, horrible way to do it, and people get rejected because something wasn't dotted or something wasn't crossed, or a signature was in the wrong place. But that gave you the legal protection of either being a woman or a man, depending which way you've transitioned. And the decision this week stated that as the definition of a woman was somebody who was born female, somebody who, when they got their first original birth certificate, was registered as female. So anyone with a GRC, a gender recognition certificate, no longer can be considered female for this piece of legislation. Now, that's all it affects, and everybody's panicking, and in reality, all it means is that the legal definition of a woman, for the sake of this particular law, and it's a particular paragraph or whatever in that law, that trans women are not women. And I was surprised at that, because the legalities of a gender recognition certificate would suggest otherwise. But there's protests happening all over the country, all over the United Kingdom today. And I've seen some videos, and it looked like they were really well attended, which is good to see. And it's not just trans people, it's cis females, because they recognise that this is now meaning that a woman is just somebody who can give birth. That's what it's basically saying. And obviously the people who fought to get this ruling are all celebrating, etc. But actual women who care about other women, proper feminists, and other people disagree with my saying that, but proper feminists are worried, because they know where this is going to go. Abortion laws, because that's where they're going to attack next. Marriage laws.
It's here.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Coming here.
And so the UK is an echo chamber of the United States when it comes to these type of things. It sometimes takes a while, and sometimes it comes across really, really quick. And this may make it happen a little bit quicker. If not, then it'll be the next general election, the way things are going just now. The party who are in charge just now, the Labour Party, are supposed to be left centrist, if not left wing, and they're definitely moving more right wing, because they're trying to win the votes of the people who are voting for these right wing.
Yeah, that's
and people are hating them for it, so they're going to lose even more people, because everybody thought the last shower in government were a bunch of whatever, and this new lot are behaving just as badly. And what that tells me is politicians are going to politic. They're going to do whatever they think will get them votes. And it's not about their beliefs anymore, it's about who has the most money to pay them.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong job, obviously. I should be in politics.
Right.
Give me the money.
Right. We need to be some strong trans women politicians.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love that to happen in the UK. And next year, actually, Scotland has a general election for their parliament, which is a devolved parliament, and so has some powers, but not tons. But not the last one, but the one before, there was a trans woman who stood, and the abuse she got was just horrifying, and she eventually quit the campaign. She just couldn't take it anymore. So the only way you're going to see a trans woman even competing is if she has a really strong team behind her, looking at the social media and letting her not touch social media and not look at it, because otherwise you're just, at the moment, it's vitriol. And most people in Scotland are fairly good with what they do. I have no problems at all being out and about. I've never had any problems. I've maybe had a few comments, mostly from guys, but I've never had anything really from any women. Don't have any issues whenever I go to the toilet or anything like that. Nobody says, "What are you doing in here?" We usually will talk makeup or dress or whatever it happens to be, wherever we happen to be. So yeah, it's strange that these politicians seem to think this is what the country want, and the reality is most people don't care. And I'm pretty sure it's probably the same in many parts of the US.
Oh yeah. It's not what the majority wants. It's what they want.
Yeah.
It's what their donors want.
People with money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rich people, whether it's the group who took the legal action, are funded by J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, who I saw smoking a stogie, celebrating such a terrible decision.
Yeah.
If you're still supporting her, also CrossYaas listeners, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fucking Harry Potter bullshit out of here. Fuck that
Don't
bitch.
don't pay for it if you want to watch the new HBO stuff. Get it from somewhere where it's free.
No, don't even watch it. Don't give her any support.
Sure.
I'm that extreme.
Yep, sure. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just trying to give people that little bit of a chance. I have watched things occasionally in sites or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've not ever played the Harry Potter game because her stance on trans rights stemmed from her supporting somebody called Maya Forrester, and people gave her some stick for that, saying she's a transphobe, and then she basically keeps doubling down. She keeps getting worse and worse. In fact, very recently she was making fun of asexual people because it was Asexual Day, and she's just a horrible person. Again, she's got shit tons of money. It must mean the money must make them horrible, or I don't know. It must take all their empathy or something, because she has none. Yet she'll say that she's a staunch ally of women. But
Women.
yeah, it will have to be women who fit into a particular caricature of what she feels a woman should be. So women can't be asexual. A woman probably can't be bisexual in her eyes.
I wonder if women are even sexual at all in her eye. I mean, despite the whole asexual thing, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their choice. It's the man's choice to power over them or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely misogynistic. I think, as are many of these so-called feminists. They used to be called trans exclusionary
radical feminists.
The only thing about them is radical. They're just radical. They're bigots. That's what they are. Bigots will bigot. There's one famous one in the UK called Posey Parker. And she's this platinum blonde, goes on YouTube all the time. She's toured the world. She got kicked out of Australia because people who were marching at her parade were Nazis. Like, they literally were Nazis. And she's like, but I'm not a Nazi. And it's like, well, you seem to draw Nazis. So, maybe, we've got that meme. Are we the bad guys? With the person in the SS uniform.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're attracting Nazis to your rallies, guess what? You are a Nazi. They're not coming to Pride.
If you're not calling them out and standing up to them, you're with them.
Yeah, well, completely.
It's the same thing with like racism. If you claim you're not racist, but you see someone being attacked for being a different race and you don't say anything, you are complicit.
Without a doubt, and that's the thing. People seem to think, but I don't believe in that. It's like, well, but you need to do more than just not believe in it. You need to call out. Now, we've ran trans ally training at my work, and I remember the first session, and I went down. I'd just been made chair of my work's network for LGBT people, and I just thought I'd introduce myself to these people, and they were talking about some stuff, and I said, right, so if you see something, what do you do? And they're like, we call it out. I'm like, great. If you see a gay man or a gay woman being attacked by 10 people, what do you do? And they're like, call it out. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? And they're like, well, because call the police. Somebody's been attacked. Keep yourself safe, but call the police. You're seeing somebody, don't call them out, because what will happen is there's now 2 people needing help. I'm a first aider, or was a first aider at work, or through scouting. And that was the thing when you done the first aid, is you always checked for danger. You don't rush into a scene, because if somebody's lying in the ground, there's a reason why they're lying in the ground, and it might be that there's a natural something or other, whether there's some water in the ground, there's electricity about, or whatever. You don't know, so you have to check these things out. And it's exactly the same thing when you're calling out, whether it's racism, whether it's homophobia, transphobia, or whatever. If you're safe to call it out without any doubt. If not, and it looks like it's a crime, because at the end of the day, somebody getting beaten up by 10 people is definitely a crime. Film it, call the police, well, call the police first, then start filming so that you've got evidence, because otherwise it's 10 people's word against yours. So definitely, and racism, unfortunately, we still see that. The ICE agents, that's what they're doing just now, isn't it? They're basically being racist, that you don't look American. Somebody who's lived in the country all their life.
Yeah.
Just because they're not white.
Or well, there was that kid recently that was picked up, and he had a fucking birth certificate.
Yeah. We've heard stories of Europeans being picked up. People who are tourists in America, and then they're wondering why tourism is starting to drop.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I can't think why. I know for myself, I'd love to come over. I'd love to come over to LA, visit yourself, up to see Tommy as well, and maybe a few other girls elsewhere if I had the money. The simple fact is, I'm not going to get into America just now, because I've previously been in the country with my old passport. I worked at summer camps. My fingerprints are on file under that name. So if I tried to get through, even with me putting in, hey, that's my old name, etc., with his executive orders, if I get the wrong border guard, I'm not getting in. I'm getting sent in back home in a plane.
That's best. That's probably best case scenario too.
Yeah, well, that's it. And
I know that sounds fucking extreme, right? It sounds extreme, but like that's the reality of what's going on.
Completely. I would love to come and visit. Like, I would love to. But at the moment, it's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe for anybody, but foreigners aren't getting the protection that they used to get. Like, oh, there you go, show your British passport or your German passport or whatever, and you'll be fine. Because I always walked about with my passport, because we're told, walk about with your passport, because if anything happens, if you've got that, then in theory, unless you've broken the law, you're going to be protected, and that's not the case anymore. The chances are you're going to end up in El Salvador.
I hear they want to build 5 more prisons.
Somebody this pretty is not going to last in an El Salvador prison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the fact that these prisons as well are being built outside of America absolves the president. No, it doesn't.
No, anything makes more complicit, more criminal.
I mean, we could, if we want to go back to the likening to 100 years ago.
Yeah, let's
okay,
do it.
So the first concentration camp was in Germany, and there were a few in Germany. There was like 4 or 5, with satellite camps and things like that. The majority of them were outside of Germany. The death camps were all outside America, outside of Germany.
Sorry. Oh, they were death.
We're looking at possible death camps now in El Salvador, though. Like, these people going to these prisons, they're not getting gassed or anything like that, as far as we know. But there's still a chance of death, because these prisons are hellholes, from all that I hear, and they're not safe. And you start small, a couple hundred, couple thousand, whatever it happens to be. People don't say anything. If people, and there have been protests in America, and I know there have been. I've seen the pictures. Your protest last week, was it?
It was a couple weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago.
There's one big one. There's a big one going on today too. I'm told.
Yeah. These type of protests are still needed, but the people in power need to start doing something. The fact that all the judges in your Supreme Court were against Trump says something, because he feels he's loaded that, and they went, no, you're breaking the law. That's good. I'm glad to see that. The worry is still that there are other things that they will side with him, but the good thing is that they have said, and you guys are on a tipping point just now. You really are, because if he continues like this and nothing is done by Congress or the Senate, then he will continue. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether there'll be a war.
Yeah.
I know we've got a tariff war just now, and I don't know if there'll ever be a war because America isn't the only country with nuclear weapons, and I think any war could end up down that way. And Handmaid's Tale,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
people liken it to 1984, but really I think we're more heading towards the Handmaid's Tale than anything else. I think we're heading to that, where women are only useful for one thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's what these guys want. They want rid of equality. We've seen that, anybody who was a DEI hire, and you're like, look, they were a DEI hire because they were the best person for the fucking job,
Mm-hmm.
not because they were black or gay or a woman or whatever. They still have to be the best person for the job.
It's like, if you're not doing your job well, like, why would they still keep you in that position unless you're the fucking president?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or a fucking shitty politician. Fuck Texas. I'm mad at Texas too.
And let's talk about Texas. Like, how can you make a type of person illegal? Like, constitutionally, that's against the rules, is it not?
Yeah.
I don't know much about the American Constitution, but I know enough that says, you have a freedom to express yourself in whichever way you wish.
Also the whole, like, life, liberty, and, what's the other thing? Pursuit of happiness?
Yeah.
What's that about? Like, can I not pursue my own fucking happiness and have my own liberty? And have my own fucking life?
No, clearly not. You can't do that because, you're infringing on somebody else's happiness.
And the whole thing was like what is it, fraud, identity fraud or some shit. Like, just coming from my trans woman perspective, like, that's so fucking ass backwards, because if anything, me being old Billy with a Y, that was me being fake. That was me putting a mask on. This Billy with IE is me being authentic, being real, down to earth, truthful.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, like identity fraud. Surely identity fraud would be like where you don't connect the dots. So when you do all your name change, at least in the UK, everything's still linked to old you. Admittedly, the name has changed, but my birth certificate at the moment, because I don't have a gender recognition certificate, still has my old name on it. So doesn't matter what I do, that name is still attached to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll always be attached to me, because even when I get my birth certificate changed, when it gets amended, hopefully I get that far, it will still have a notification that this has been amended.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere somebody will be able to join the dots. So you can't use it for fraud that way. Plus, let's be serious, you're not going to be able to use it for financial fraud, because somebody's going to look at it and go, why have you only got 2 years of history?
Yeah.
And you might have to say, well, this is my own, So, yeah, it seems a bit of a crazy sort of way to try and make it that people are illegal.
Thinking
the people who actually do fraud.
Right.
That's how you stop fraud.
Ken Paxton, known criminal.
Donald Trump, known criminal.
Yeah, I wonder why all these criminals are doing criminal things.
Yeah.
And I think about this a lot too, like, if, like, somehow or some reason, like, I was forced to go back, like, I don't even know what the fuck that would look like.
It'd look like fraud.
I was
surely.
putting a performance on for others.
Yeah.
There's no going back.
Without doubt.
The only going back would be death.
Yeah.
And that sounds harsh, but that's the reality of this.
I've seen so many people talking like that recently this week in Scotland and
It's hard.
in the UK, and you know, thankfully I'm stronger than that, and thankfully I also have an understanding of the equality law. Not like as good as the lawyers, but I have enough where I can say, well, you know what, the law hasn't changed because a judge can't change the law, he upholds the law.
Mm-hmm.
So there nothing has changed. You know, I can still use the women's toilets. I still have the protection of gender reassignment because I have started a social transition or a medical transition. I've started both. So I have that protection, which means that I get protection. There are exemptions where if a single-sex place has tried everything they can, but there's just no way for you to safely use that service for harm to other people, then they have a right to refuse you. So like rape crisis centres and things like that are generally where that's written for, not a toilet. You know, the toilets and female, they're not squatting over a hole in the mid where everybody can see them. They go in behind a door, and thankfully toilets in the UK tend to close
an actual door.
There are not big gaps down both sides. And
you know, if you want to make the bathrooms better and like more safe and secure, like build the bathrooms better.
Yeah.
Make bathrooms better again. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, in my workplace, the doors are floor to ceiling, you know, or you know, the frame, and then there's a bit of ceiling above it, I guess. I don't pay attention up that high because it's way too high for me to look at. But yeah, you know, these are single lockable single sex spaces, each cubicle. So in theory, you could have them just have a gender fluid, non-gendered,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. You could do that in most women's toilets. The problem you would have is that there is usually a door into them, and you know you've got a hand wash basin, so they are private spaces there. But you know, when they talk about these things, I said it earlier, they don't think about trans men. So if you stop a trans woman going into the ladies, you have to accept trans men into the ladies then. And guess what trans men look like? You know, more often than not, they look like
men.
Cis men.
Yeah.
So all a cis man would have to do then is, yeah, I'm a trans woman.
Raging with testosterone, and
they don't have to do anything else. Like they just have to literally say, I am a trans man. And how do you check that? You're not, you know, you don't have a chromosomal check at toilets.
Yeah. I fucking hate that argument. It's such a bullshit argument. Oh, your chromosomes. Who the fuck is checking chromosomes?
Yeah.
Who? Who? Tell me who, and don't even give me this shit. It's protecting the kids. We're protecting the kids. That's fucking bullshit. I remember, you know, they're just trying to protect the kids from being trans or whatever, trying to keep them from being manipulated. So we're just trying to take healthcare and shit away from them. But, you know, guess who the fucking next target has been? The fucking adults. Despite me hearing it all the time. You know, once you're an adult, I don't care what you do. Once you're 18, I don't care. But what was Trump's order? What was Trump's order? I think it was up to 19. 19's an adult.
Over here, so we had the cast review last year, and the kids' trans healthcare got decimated because of that. It was NHS England and Wales, and Scotland took it on board and used it, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like, she didn't talk to any trans people because we would be biased. Yet everybody she spoke to was biased against trans people. And it was the same as that Supreme Court. They spoke to people who weren't trans. They spoke to people who were anti-trans. And if you're going to listen to those people, we know that this shit's going to happen. And actually, just now, NHS England now have a new review that's very similar to the CAS review, except for it's on adult services. And the worry at the moment is that it does the same thing. Like,
It's a matter of time.
you know, I can't understand, but I get that kids, they could say, you know, their brains aren't developed, they don't know what they're. Yeah, I get all that. I can get that reasoning, but let's be serious. Most trans people know that they're trans from a very young age, and that doesn't change.
Nope. Nope.
But if this is how they, and that's the thing, they will. I have the gravest feeling about this, that they will, with this, attack adult trans services. They're all mentally ill, or whatever. There'll be something.
They're mentally ill, but let's not treat it. Let's not do the treatment for it. Why wouldn't you do the treatment for it? If it's a mental illness, or if it's an illness, or whatever it is people claim, why not treat it?
Yeah.
As the DSM tells you to treat it.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
There's fucking treatment.
Yeah.
It's been researched. It works. We're both happy. We're both great. We've blossomed. We're doing all kinds of cool things we've never done. Well, maybe not yourself, but for me, like,
well, I mean,
the world has opened up since being me.
I've talked about, I have done more since coming out than I ever did before, because I'm more confident in myself. Now, that might be part of the journey. It probably is, to be honest. And, I'm getting a little bit of a reward for that next month, where I'm getting to go to Buckingham Palace. I'm going to put that in there.
Are you going to get knighted? Are you going to be Knight Sarah?
Oh, I'm going to be Lady Sarah, of course.
Oh, Lady Sarah.
But yeah, I might meet the king. There's no guarantee that he will be there. And, people do get to meet him. But if I don't get to meet him, I will probably get to meet somebody else from the royal family. Because that's what they tell you that will happen. You will meet somebody from the royal family. They just can't guarantee who it's going to be.
You'll meet the tiny 2-year-old niece.
Yeah.
Or granddaughter or something.
Maybe. But that's through my work, because I work in education, and this year's theme is education and skills. So my work came to myself and other chairs of the networks at work and said, right, we want you lot to go because you represent the majority of the staff. We have the chair of the women's network going. We have who else is going? We have the chair of the men's network going, obviously the LGBT network, and we have somebody who works across a few of the networks actually who's going, and we all get to take a +1, so most of us are taking friends or family. So it's pretty heartwarming to see that that's what's happening, and we're honoured to get. But my activism is what got me there. Really. And activism is really important in this day and age just now, because somebody has to stand up.
Yeah.
It does make us targets.
We're targets already. That's the thing. We're already targets.
Well, yeah, we are. We're already.
We are already targets. So stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your trans siblings.
So some people will say, well, I don't want them to know. I'm just trying to live a quiet life. I want to live a quiet life.
Yeah.
I really do. I quite enjoy sitting on my couch playing Xbox. But the simple fact is, the way the world is just now, I don't have the joy. I can do that occasionally, and I do. But the simple fact is that if we don't make noise, if we don't stand up for ourselves, then we put ourselves in huge amounts of danger.
Yeah.
More than putting your head above the parapet, I feel.
I am thinking just now too, with the whole like wanting to hide and just stay like hidden or whatever. I totally get it. However, like, if they're coming after us, they have ways of finding you.
Nowadays, yeah. We'll go back to Germany or Poland, and I've read books about, and there was a movie about it as well, starring Daniel Craig. In Poland, there was a group who hid in the forest for several years because these were dense forests. The Germans eventually still found them, And in today's day, with all the technology we've got, sure, you could stay hidden for a while, but it would not be a great existence.
No.
Back then, it was tough. It would be even tougher now, because we are used to so much more comfort. Yeah, there are people out there who could survive that and do survive that, but I know I couldn't. I could survive for a while, but I would, my nail appointments and stuff. I'd take that.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm even just thinking about like stealth trans people that don't want to stand up for trans rights. Like, they have ways of finding you. Your information's out there. If you're doing any medical thing, you're in their system. You're in the system somewhere.
There is a trail somewhere.
And HIPAA violations. Apparently they're not they don't matter anymore. Laws don't matter. What are laws?
These people will change the law if they have to make it legal to do whatever search they want to do. And I'm pretty positive that they could probably just pull off a search in whatever system it happens to be that says, find me the names of everybody who's changed their name, and exclude people where it's only the surname that's changed. And that excludes married women. And everything else is either a criminal or a trans person who we are criminalizing. So they're a criminal as well. And they will find you. They will find you. It's not a hard thing to do when they have law enforcement on their side, because we all know all cops are bastards, as the saying goes.
That sounds like a nice way of saying it.
No, well, I didn't want to say cunt. And there are some good cops out there. I'm not going to say there aren't. However, they obey the law. And if the law says that you as a trans person are illegal, they will throw you in jail. And they will treat you like they'll treat Billy as a man.
Stealth or not. Even if you're living stealth, doesn't matter.
Yep. If you're a trans man, they will throw you in a women's prison. Weirdly. It doesn't make sense. Make that make sense.
I think about this too, like the whole trans women just want to go into the bathrooms to rape people or whatever, and it's like bitch, I take hormones. That shit doesn't even work anymore. You know how hard it is to get that thing any kind of filled with blood? It's hard. Very difficult to get there.
It's hard. Go on, say it.
Ironically, it's not hard.
It's soft. Damn.
It's quite soft, yeah. Yeah.
Flaccid, maybe.
Very much so.
Yeah. And this is this argument, men are just pretending to put on a dress. I wear a dress to go out. Yeah. I go to work wearing trousers, pants, as you guys call them, and generally a t-shirt, because at work I can't be crawling under desks. Fuck if I'm ruining a dress, crawling around under a desk, changing ports and shit like that. I'm not doing that. So I'm not wearing a dress to get into the women's toilet. I'm wearing a dress because I fucking am a diva, and I love going out and dressing up. I know I don't look it just now, but honestly, I am. And
no, you don't have to get dressed up for me. It's okay.
Yeah, it's too late in the day to get dressed up.
You had a busy day.
I did actually, but it's we know it's nothing to do with that. But to use that argument, what alpha male is going to put a dress on? Because let's be serious, and I use the word alpha ironically. I think these people who think they're alpha males are never ever going to wear a dress Full stop.
Yeah.
You know, so they're not going to wear a dress, and these are the people that are more likely to rape somebody because they feel they can take whatever they want.
I mean, do you know who was afraid to wear a dress and go dressed up in public pre-coming out?
Trans women generally.
Trans women generally, yeah.
You know, because they're fucking frightened of getting the shit beat out of them.
You know, many of us have really honestly given the whole being a man thing a try.
Tried it. Wasn't very
I tried
good
it.
at
I tried all the stuff. I got married, homeowner. I mean, I didn't have the kids. That's a thank God kind of a moment for me, to be honest.
Yay for not having
But
kids.
you know,
Yeah. And for all you parents, thank you very much. Saves me the job.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've never been married, but I've had relationships. I moved into the house I live in with an ex, and you know, it wasn't actually. Although I didn't come out as trans, she knew I dressed and wore makeup, and that didn't actually bother her. She was just, she'd been married 3 times before, so she wasn't very trusting, and that's what ruined the relationship. And so, yeah, I'm glad I don't have kids, because I know the struggle for those that do when they're contemplating the transition, contemplating where they want to go in their marriage.
yeah.
And I feel for them. I can't understand how it feels because I've never been in that situation, but I understand it must be extremely hard, extremely difficult, and tearing yourself apart, I'm going to imagine. Because there's this part of you where you want to protect your wife, your kids, your family, and this part where you want to protect yourself. And
we tend to put ourselves last as well on that list.
Completely. But I think we need to go on from this because I think we need to do a little bit of joy. So
Yeah. Let's go joyful.
So you didn't get. It's been over a year since I last chatted to you like this. What have you been up to?
Oh my goodness, that's such a broad question.
Of course it is.
What have I been up to this whole last year? Well, I took a kind of a 1-year hiatus from the podcast, if you haven't noticed. Even though I've recently started putting some stuff out. I know the Danielle episode was a bit rough. Conversation for another time.
We can
talk about that a little bit later because we're talking joy right now. So kind of, I had a lot of things happen to me last year. Like I had a really good friend, and we were going out on trips all the time, and I was also really busy in my church and and work and all that stuff, and just being overall busy. So that really pulled me away just from the podcast, just living my life, and which was good and necessary. I needed that time away. But all around the same time, about it was May of last year, my friend that I was going out on trips with, she broke up with me. So like, I don't know if you've had like a close friendship breakup, but sometimes that's harder than like other kind of relationship breakups.
I agree.
And it really, really affected me, and it caused me to. Well, I also lost my prescription I lost my doctor insurance thing screwed up, so I lost my Zoloft prescription at that same time. So like it was just like a shit ton of stuff going all at once. I was just like really depressed and lonely at that time. I had also I got elected to be on the vestry at my church, which is like the board. It's a 4-year term, so I'm there for 3 more years. They have me for 3 more years at the very least.
I feel sorry for them.
Right. And that went wild from the beginning because like I didn't get like a normal. Normally you go in there and you like talk about the budget and you vote on the budget. But I got like I got the one first session which was like about budget, and then after that there was like a choir concert cancellation. It was like a Juneteenth choir concert, and there was like a whole like racial thing involved with that, and then also like the rector, the main pastor at the church, put his resignation in, and we had to deal with that and all the fallout of that. So yeah, I was dealing with a lot of that, like pretty much the whole summer, and even into like November, it was still just kind of the fallout of that. Just it really went on.
So what you're saying is you were too busy for your friends.
Yeah, I was doing like when I'd go to these vestry meetings, I'd have several, sometimes multiple a week, and they're hours long.
Yeah.
So it's very time consuming.
Must be tiring as well.
Yeah, and I still facilitate my Tuesday group, my Tuesday LGBTQ group. I've been doing that for it'll be 2 years, I think, in June, which is crazy to me, and I love it. It's great. And just recently I was, I guess, voted in or asked to be in the LGBTQ ministry, like the co-leader of that, or co-chair, so that's really cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I mean, I haven't really done a whole lot, just busy work mostly. I
think both of us are similar type of thing, where we've just got busy with lots of different things. For me, so I'm in the Scottish Trade Union Council LGBT group, and last year I was voted as vice chair, which means come the end of next month, there's a good chance that I'm going to be the next chair, which I'm worried about, because I'm like, there's got to be somebody better than me.
No, you're the best. Don't have that imposter syndrome to yourself.
I think that's something that we all struggle with, and really, you think, there's got to be somebody. Like, it's like when somebody says, "Is there an adult in the room?" and I look around looking for the adult.
No, I know.
Because there's absolutely no chance I'm a fucking adult.
I feel the same way. I'm like, why am I co-chair? I'm so disorganized. I'm not an organized person, but I'm a doer. I'm a give me a plan, give me something that you want done, and I'll do it. I'll get it done.
I'm not great at organising me. I'm actually reasonably okay at organising other people and asking them to do things. At the moment, I'm co-chair of Trans Pride Scotland, and we have our AGM coming up sometime in June. It's not been announced yet, so I'm not going to give any dates away, just in case anybody from Scotland does listen. I have to step down because I've served my 2-year term on the committee. I'm only a year as the chair, the co-chair, or co-convener we call it. But I will be looking to be voted back on. Then there's obviously the S2UC, where we have our conference at the end of May. So it's the last weekend in May going into June. And also with the union that I actually represent, we have our AGM coming up at the beginning of next month on actually the 1st of May. And I'm looking to obviously get back on there, and I'm actually hoping to go for vice chair of that. Because I know the chair's never going to be leaving before me, so I'm not worrying about ever becoming chair there. But I want to be able to, with the skill set that I have, which has been a gobby shite, I want to be able to help. It's something I love doing. I love helping people, and I think you're very much the same, with the fact that you do this LGBT group. Last year, my hometown actually created a new LGBT group, and I'm part of the people who run it. I told them I will give what I can, when I can, and then eventually we actually became a proper organisation, so we now have a bank account and everything like that. Because later this year we're running a Cayley, which is a Scottish dance. So we're doing that in August, then 23rd. It is out on the internet, so I can give the date on that. And we're hoping that this leads to one. We hope it's successful because at some point we want to do a pride in my hometown. Now my hometown's not very large. It's like 20-something thousand, 27,000 or something like that. And pride just doesn't happen in my area of the country, really.
What does pride mean to you?
Pride to me, pride is a protest as well as a party. We are still there protesting about the fact that we are still treated differently. And I'm not just talking about trans people, I'm talking about LGBTQ plus people. We are all still treated with a little bit of, whether it's disdain or fear or trepidation or whatever. So the protest showing people that we are there, but the party is that, look, we are happy being who we are, and we are happy to show you that we are who we are. And I think it's something that's really, really important. Unfortunately, in this day and age, like we're 50 years on from the first Pride Parade, and things haven't really. They've got better. I'm not going to say they haven't. They have got better, but they're still second-class citizens, as far as I'm concerned. We still don't have. And people, you do have the right. No, we don't.
No,
because
our rights are being taken away.
People still have this. Oh, look at that. I'm going to use the word faggot. Look at that faggot. You still hear that in the streets. The same as you still hear people of non-white race being called whatever it happens to be, depending on the race they are. And these things still happen because we still have bigots. And while the bigots are there, we still have to fight. Now,
be a bigger voice. Be a bigger voice than the bigots.
Yeah.
Drown their bigoty voices out.
That's really hard to do because most people, when they're happy, don't complain. They don't make noise. When they're unhappy is when they make noise. Bigots are always unhappy. So they make a lot of noise. Whereas most people just go through life without uttering a thing because they're happy. They're happy with what they've got. They've got, whether it's privilege, whether it's white privilege, rich privilege, or whatever it happens to be, they have that privilege. And so pride is all about having that voice heard. Pride is all about having you being seen. And it's about joy. So we were talking about joy. Pride is about joy. The fact that your life is worth living. That for those young kids who don't know where they're heading in their life, they don't know who they are properly, they're still struggling with their gender or their sexuality, we have to show them that
It's going to be backwards for you if you're watching.
It's not. I can see it properly.
Oh, you read it fine? Okay. For me, it's backwards.
Yeah. I have this one.
Yeah.
We are one. I also have a trans rights one, but I think it's just trans rights.
I think that's all I have within reach. Oh, nice.
Okay. But yeah, I know when I was a kid, there was nobody really like me.
Oh, these.
Lots and lots.
I'm gonna go stick these everywhere.
I've got a few things.
I got these from Gemma.
Awesome. But kids from when I was growing up, and possibly when you were growing up, we didn't really have that many people that we could say, "Oh, they're just like me."
Yeah. Because
you didn't see them. Even in prides, if you ever had a pride, which my first pride was 2016. I'm not going to. Well, no, it wasn't. My first pride was probably 2001, but it was accidental, and it was in Philadelphia. But my first actual pride I went to because I wanted to go to Pride was 2016.
Yeah.
But I've been to one every year since, apart from the COVID years. And even then I went to.
Yeah.
I went to
2022 for me.
Yeah, and I even went to prides online. There was a World Pride on in 2020, and I went food shopping in the morning, came back, put YouTube on in my telly, and watched the Pride circumnavigate the globe basically. So, and that's what they done. They went to different countries, depending what the timeline was, and it was amazing to watch. It really was. It was also very devastating because there were countries, especially further east, where gay people are still targeted and by the government. And actually Hungary, I think it's Hungary, have passed a law that bans prides from happening now. And so we can see that it's still an issue. There are still countries where it's illegal to be gay. There are still countries where it's the death penalty to be gay. This is why Pride. This is the reason. This is the protest part of Pride. This is why Pride is still needed. I'm going to ask you the same question.
I'll say if anything, I think it's more needed than ever.
Yeah. So what does Pride mean to you, Billy?
Honestly, I feel like you encapsulated it pretty perfectly. For me it's of course it's a form of protest. Being seen, being heard. Also, for me, it's also a joyful time. And it's a time whenever I like to try to uplift all of my LGBTQ siblings around me as much as I can. I mean, more than I already do throughout the rest of the year.
I mean, if you lift them, they're really high up, aren't they?
Yeah, they go up real high.
But
yeah, you really encapsulated it. I mean, that to me, that's what it is.
I think we have to be, and I don't mind being a trans parent or a trans grandparent, for fuck's sake, because there's so many kids out there who are still being rejected by their actual parents for being gay, for being trans. That I'm quite happy to give mum hugs.
Yeah, I'll be your trans mama.
Yeah,
I'm not grandma age yet, but I'll be trans mama.
I don't know.
I guess maybe I am kind of trans grandma age, but
say it's in some areas of your country you're probably great grandma.
Probably true. I am from Texas.
Yeah. No, but yeah, and I think it's important that kids do have somebody visible, whether they speak to you or not.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Krakow 2 years ago. Another accidental Pride. I got to see Krakow Pride. And of course, I knew very little Polish. I could say thank you and stuff like that, and that was about it. I think it's important to have manners. And this young person stopped 5 foot away from me or something like that, and she had the trans flag on, or they had the trans flag on rather, because I don't want to guess their gender, and I just wanted to run up and hug them. And obviously I'm not going to do that because A, there was lots of police about and I'm likely to get beaten up because she's probably going to, or they're going to scream, and B, yeah, you asked for permission before you hug somebody, and I'm like, what do I do? And I have trans flag laces in my trainers. So I kind of waved and then I pointed down to my trainers, and she was kind of like, and I kept pointing down, and eventually she saw them and her face lit up. It was amazing. She called her friends over and pointed, and they all just huge smiles on. And even with that language barrier, I still was able to get across that if I wasn't trans, because I wasn't presenting as trans at the time, because I was in Poland, that they had somebody who was a supporter, and that was a magic moment, to be honest.
You are inspiring me to wear more trans pins.
I don't think we need to wear more trans pins or anything like that. I think what we need to do though is not be afraid to show that we are trans.
Oh
Not
yeah, no, I
be-
do that too. I'm already
and I
at
know,
that point. I'm already at that point.
and I know that. And that's the thing. I think, we have. You say I inspire you. I was at a women's conference last year, for the Scottish Trade Union Council, um, and I was in the toilets, and I saw a woman with a sort of trans badge, and I'm like, "Oh, I love your badge," and she's like, "I love your hair because my hair had just been done pink." She's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, it's lovely," and so we chatted a bit, and I had my trans lanyard on as well, and it turned out that she had a trans child, and she was a huge ally, which was great to see, and she inspired me, and um, she she had this unicorn,
Aww.
and she gave me it.
Aww.
She came up, she said, "You need this more than I do," which was very sweet. So that now is my conference unicorn, and she inspired me to be more out there, which some people might say is hard to believe because they see me being out there, but she inspired me to be even more because
I
it was so touching.
I totally get
And
it. I totally get it. Because I did that protest a few weeks ago,
yeah,
and the whole thing went well. I had my my trans rights banner or whatever that I was sign that I was carrying around, and at the very end we met up at the Paseo like courtyard area, and we were waiting for one politician to come and do their like last speech, and I hadn't sat down in like 4 hours, and there was like some planners out and about where everyone else was like sitting
yeah,
down. I went to go sit down just like everyone else did. Security guard came over, told me I had to go, go on the sidewalk. So I did. My little group did because, we're complying. We're not trying to break any rules or whatever. And I go out there. I go protest some more. I turn around to go find my friends, and I see the security guard standing by them with a huge, not by my friends, but by everyone else sitting. There's more people sitting down. And he just has this like big shit-eating grin on his face, and I called his ass out on it.
yeah.
I went out and called out his discrimination against me, called out his hypocrisies very, very loudly. Lots of people around me heard. Of course, I did it from the sidewalk because I'm not dumb.
Yeah.
Eventually, some other guy came in and started defending the security guard. And that guy immediately started, calling slurs at me and, calling me a man in a dress and all that blah, blah, blah bullshit. Trying to scare me, which all it did is made me want to stand up more.
Because that's what they want.
Yeah.
Bravado. They want to instill fear.
Yeah, they're not fear.
When you stand up, they generally back down.
Yeah, no fear here.
Yeah.
Through that encounter, I mean, I had a lot of like women came to my defense.
Yeah.
I mean, not just women. A lot of people came to my defense, but most of more women. There was this one mom though who came up to me and she said that she saw me doing that and it like filled her heart with all kinds of great emotions, and she said that her child was trans and was there and was like really excited to see me there and standing up for myself, and like you, that makes me want to be even more visible and more out there for people.
So, as part of Trans Pride, we have a mailbox and things like that. And I'm actually, if you're okay, I've got an email that we were sent after our Trans Pride event for Trans Day Invisibility. So we had Trans Pride in Scotland on the 29th of last month, and on the what date did we get this? On the 29th, later that day, we got an email in, and it says, "Hi all, I just wanted to send you a message and thank you for such an amazing event today. For me, today has been a very emotional day. seeing and meeting such amazing people, including families and children. I only learnt about Trans Pride about 10 days ago, and immediately shared it with our LGBTQI plus sports group, the Perth Parrots, and a group of us decided to come through. Our journey was laborious as Junction 3 of the M90 was closed and rerouted us via Junction 2. It meant we didn't make the start of the march. However, our late arrival meant that we grouped up with a lovely family of 5 and a person with amazing hair and energy, and then there's a photo attached of that person. We managed to join in the last part of the march and had an amazing rest of the day. My highlight of the day was before we even joined the march, when one of the parents in the family of 5 pronounced me correctly when talking to their child, as did the child, which is something I don't experience very often. This was also something I experienced throughout the event, which made me feel so seen. I realise my email will be a bit long-winded, but I wanted you all to know how much I personally, as a non-binary person, appreciated everything you did today to make my life feel valid. Thank you. Kind regards. That type of message is why I do what I do, because there are people who don't have that courage to go out and do these things. And so, to me, somebody has to do it. And I don't mind being that somebody, because, as I've already said, I am a gobby shite. I've been standing up for myself for years, because you all make fun of me being so short. I've had that all my life.
That's your privilege. It's privilege now.
I have been short all my life, and I've also, maybe not picked on, but I've had to fight for what I wanted, and so, yeah, they always say small people syndrome or whatever, and that they're really loud and everything else. My mum is not even 5 foot tall. My mum is really short. That's why I call her Mini Mum. And yeah, you get the joke. There's a double joke there, obviously, and she is the same as me. Like, we are both very vociferous. We are both quick to stand up for ourselves and be loud when we need to be, because things like that email make it worthwhile. Things like that family coming up to you make it worthwhile. That woman coming to me make it worthwhile. If I wasn't there, that's not to say that those things and those people would have somebody else, but they might not. And that's why I do it.
The more numbers, the better.
The more numbers, the better. It's not just me running Trans Pride Scotland. I am one of 7 people. Hopefully in our AGM we get a few more people, because running a pride's hard work. And we would like more people. So if there are any people in Scotland who want to help out with Trans Pride Scotland, please do come and help.
Please do it, yeah. Also, if you want to support the CrossYaas Podcast, go to the Patreon if that's still a thing. I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore. If it is, and you're still donating, thank you. I really appreciate all your support.
Yeah. The weekend. I'm guessing 2 weeks ago, when you had your protest, I was in London for the Trans Forum, so Trans Pride Forum. When the Trans Pride Forum had their first meeting, there were 15 Trans Prides in the UK. As of last week, there are 26, and by the end of this year, they reckon it will grow to 30. I went to the Museum of Transology's 10th anniversary. Items that I donated and were part of donating were there. It was amazing to see. My favourite picture, though, had the word cunt in it. Somebody had sewn this and sewn the word cunt in this thing, and it was amazing. Did I share it? I think I've shared it in the Discord.
I think you did.
But it was great seeing that. There was a telephone box that was painted in trans colours. I mean, it was absolutely covered in stickers, but you could still see the paint behind the stickers. There was just some amazing things from that. And seeing all these amazing people who are running prides in their part of the country was uplifting. And the fact that we now have met each other and can offer advice for things that we've done that works, or find out what they've done that works. They're all extremely lucky because none of them travel around the country, whereas Trans Pride Scotland does. And that makes it really hard for us to grow as a pride because we go to different parts of the country. And sometimes there are places that aren't exactly easy to get to for some people. When I went, it was only 2 buses, but each bus journey was exceptionally long for Scotland. Nothing for like what you guys get in the United States, and I know that.
How long?
Having done
Give me freedom units.
Journeys,
Give me freedom units.
Oh no. I'm not going there. I'm not going there because I know everybody will make fun of me.
How many hours? How many hours?
Well, I left.
Minutes. How many minutes? How many minutes?
I left the house at 7 a.m. and got into the town of Kirkcaldy at 6:30 p.m.
Oh wow, that's pretty long.
To be fair though, I also went to work for the day.
Oh yeah.
No, so and I know it's not long, but Scotland's not a very big place compared to America. I did travel the width of the country, because I went from the west coast to the east coast. I could see the sea at the east coast, the North Sea. So you know, it was, and a lot of people in the UK don't understand distances at all. Like people are like, oh, that's 5 hours, that's too far away, and I'm like, that's nothing. You know, I have travelled in the US by bus. I understand that 14 hours not even getting out of state is things that happen. You know, I'm okay with that.
I did a 2-hour drive just the other day, just for work. I mean, just one way 2 hours, so 4 hours of driving.
When I worked in summer camp, we would often go to my friend's lake cabin, or his parents' lake cabin, and that was a 3-hour drive from Washington DC. Depending on traffic, it could be a bit longer, obviously. And yeah, and I understand that that's just a nothing distance to lots of Americans because it's getting to the grocery store or something like that. You know,
it's true.
but people in the UK don't get that distance, and so yeah, all I'll say is it was the other side of the country.
Hey, it's a barrier for people.
Yeah, it's a barrier for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I joke, but it is a real barrier.
Yeah, and the percentage-wise, people who drive is probably less than in the US, because we do have semi-decent public transport. It's not cheap in some places, but it works
well.
Yeah.
I don't know about well, but it works.
Unless you're in a large metropolitan area, I know that the public transport in the States, and even in some of those large metropolitan areas, isn't great.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. I've done the travelling on the metro in Washington DC and the buses in Washington DC. I understand that the system does work in some places. New York's probably the best place that it works. London is a great place for like public transport. It goes everywhere in the city, but it's crowded. It's busy. It's all the stations are exceptionally hot in the summer, and I know talking to Americans and they'll be like, "Oh, the temperature's not that hot."
I'm not going to say anything.
Trust me. I've done both, right? I've worked in Washington DC in the fucking summer, 115 degrees. You know, I've done that, 90% humidity. I've done that. They're different. It's still fucking hot, okay? There's no AC.
You know,
no AC.
When I first moved to California, I still had like the testosterone running through my body and all that stuff, and I was acclimated to like Texas weather. So when I came to California, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so cold, and I'm like, "It's not cold." Now I'm freezing at like 65 Fahrenheit. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Shorts and t-shirt or miniskirt and t-shirt, tank top, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
see, I'm freezing. I'm freezing at that temp.
I mean, I've been I've been to Spain in like January and in April, and you know, when I was there in January, it was what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, 2 years ago, and it was 18 Celsius, which is summer temperature for a Scottish person. Like that's just what we get in the summer if we're lucky. Occasionally it's colder, and sometimes it's a wee bit warmer. And I was walking about with shorts and t-shirt on, and all the Spaniards were walking about with their big winter jackets. And I'm just like, what the hell? But I know that in the middle of the summer, when it's 40 degrees Celsius, or 100 and whatever that is, that they'll be sweating as much as I would be, you know. But yeah, totally, we do acclimatize ourselves to wherever we are. And like, admittedly, I never ever slept well in Washington DC because it was always fucking roasting. But during the day I was fine out in it and everything. I could handle it, no problem at all. And then I'd come home and it'd be like, you know, that temperature drop, you know, from like say, on average 90 degrees or whatever, down to 60 if you were lucky. You know, and that was always a bit of a shock. Just like, oh, it's a bit chilly, you know. So yeah, I totally get that, that we do acclimatise. But it's not just weather that we acclimatise. I'm going to go back to trans stuff here.
Yeah, let's do it.
You know,
let's do it.
You know, back in the 90s, trans people existed. There just weren't that many of them because people weren't willing to come out. People weren't willing to be themselves because it was fairly dangerous. Things changed, and lots of trans people started coming out, and all of a sudden it's, you know, the trans agenda, or they're transing our kids, or whatever it happens to be, whatever fucking catchphrase they're using. But
will somebody think of the children?
But most people are acclimatized to trans people being about. Most people just went, yeah, doesn't bother me because they're not hurting me. Most people. All it takes though is one arsehole to ruin somebody's day. That's whether you're trans or not trans, cross-dresser or not a cross-dresser.
Doesn't matter the label. Doesn't matter the label.
It doesn't matter. All it takes is one arsehole to fuck up your day. And they're the people that can't acclimatise. They're the people that eventually will die off when the earth starts burning and shit like that. Like it's already doing in some places. Europe over the last couple of years has had record summer temperatures and prolonged temperatures, not like the 1 or 2 weeks that most places would get it really high and then it would kind of settle down at the sort of 90 degree or whatever, and it's staying up at 120 or whatever it happens to be. And wildfires, Scotland had wildfires the other week there because we had a few weeks of sustained sunshine. So we've had summer now, so that's good. We're not getting any more summer.
Speaking of wildfires, oh my goodness, I lived through that too this last year.
So there you go, you got to fucking say that, didn't you?
Yeah, oh my goodness, I forgot about that. How can I forget? My community was so impacted by that.
Yeah, and people think that, oh, it's just because of where they live. Seriously, if we can have wildfires in Scotland, it's not because of where you live. Like, we are one of the wettest countries in the world. But all it takes is a few weeks of dry weather, some idiot being careless, or lightning, or whatever it is that started these fires. I mean, there was ones in an island that I can see from my hometown that was ongoing for about a week. So it wasn't exceptionally long compared to some of the wildfires that you guys get over there. But for Scotland, that was a long time for that sort of weather to be there. But getting back to the acclimatization, sorry, Watch Billy Connolly, you'll understand why I'm like this. He goes in tangents, but he always comes back to the point.
Let's go back to the trans stuff.
Yeah.
So, I've been through a lot with my transition in the last year. Especially this year, specifically because I've switched medical providers, and in the medical sense, things have been progressing a lot further. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I totally forgot about this in my update from earlier. Oh my goodness, so much stuff. Last year, I also had my name legally changed.
Woohoo!
And
Yes!
yeah, yes, and the recent medical stuff. I've been going to the doctor again, seeing an endocrinologist. I'm going to be starting injections next week, so I'll be switching from the tablets that dissolve under my tongue.
How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I'll still have a little bit of a blue tabs left just in case.
Yeah, always keep a in case.
Just in case. But I have this file just like sitting over here. It's been staring at me all week, or like the last 2 weeks, and I've just been like staring at it. This little tiny bottle.
So you're getting a little prick in you.
Yeah. Not even a fun one.
That's for Sophie.
Yeah, that's for Sophie.
At least I remembered her name.
That's true. Oh yeah, that person, that girl.
That girl, yeah, that girl.
And then also, this happened just last week, because I've been seeing a gender therapist.
Yeah.
Again, this is my third gender therapist, and as far as the therapist, like figuring myself out aspect, and the gender aspect, not needed.
Yeah.
In fact, she was even telling me, she's like, you're easy. You're like one of the easiest patients I've ever had. Like,
yeah,
you're already there. You're living it. You're the thing. But I still had to like, go through all the hoops and stuff, because gatekeeping, of course. But this past Monday, I had my third meeting with her, and I got my surgery letter. So that's in the works.
Yay.
So that's a big win for me.
Again.
That is definitely a yas. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's more than likely will be like next year, just because there's like a wait list, and hopefully going back to all the political shit, hopefully that I'm still able to do that next year. I am trying to fundraise for that. I have a GoFundMe. I'll probably put a link in the description of the episode if anyone would like to help donate. More than welcome, but don't feel like you have to. Like I'm not like forcing people to give me money. Like it's more of like if you want and you feel like you can help, please do. I'm well aware that Mercury Stardust has her thing going on, but I feel like that's really more deserving for other people that are in much worse circumstances than me, that don't necessarily have that community support that I have. I'd much rather leave those resources for them.
That's nice of you to.
I'm also part of my fundraising for my surgery and stuff is I want to do like an art show. And I've mentioned it in the Discord a couple times. I want to do. I actually started a series of paintings, and it's
them,
yeah, you've seen them. They're on the Discord. I'll probably show them in a second too. But it's going to be abstract art, more or less of my life and like living in gender dysphoria, and then like breaking free of that. And I wanted to start with like a really small canvas, maybe like that, however big that is.
2 by 2.
Yeah, something really small, and just it's gonna be really, really dark, and it's gonna like grow like smaller to bigger, and it's gonna get from dark to brighter, bright, big, big. I've only done 2 pieces, and not in any specific order yet, because I've only done the 2, but I started with this one.
Okay.
Which is, my pink trans woman self, hidden in the darkness and the blues and the beat, forcing to be a man in this like box. And then there's just like brightness here that's there. That's the fucking real shit. And this is much further along in the line, of course, but so I'm there. I'm bright, so bright and beautiful, and just so full of joy. So when you put them together, they're eventually going to tell a story.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm hoping to. I know they're not like super great or anything, but it's abstract, so whatever. They still have a lot of meaning and impact for myself, and yeah, if that goes well, maybe I'll do something like that in the future to help other people raise money for their stuff.
So we're going to see a Billie exhibition?
Yeah.
At the Guggenheim, is it?
Maybe. You never know. Probably not.
Fucking name big. Why not?
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I started doing voice training, official. I've only had one session. It was last Tuesday. It was just like the evaluation. So
I was going to ask how much practice have you been doing, but if it was the evaluation, they possibly didn't give you anything to practice.
She did give me things to practice, and I don't know what I did with them.
So you haven't practiced?
No.
That's one of the things that's put me off doing voice training, is the amount of work that it requires, and with how busy I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
that would help me, and so I'm kind of like, is it worth starting? I don't like starting something that I'm not going to finish. I know that I'm not going to finish it. There are things that I start that I don't finish because things happen, but with this, I really don't know how much effort I could put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I'm glad to hear that you've started, because it's an important part of everybody's journey is getting the voice that you want.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm necessarily going in there to change my voice so much. Maybe just to learn some techniques to help. Because I don't know, my voice is my voice.
Yeah.
And my voice still needs to be heard, in whatever form it is. So I don't know. I'm conflicted with it. I want to give it an attempt and see what happens.
That's fair.
I know my voice has changed and my speech patterns have changed. Since I first did the podcast, many years ago.
I think that's more important than the resonance and the pitch, is the patterns. More feminine patterns are what don't give you away. It's different when you're on the phone, and that's where I generally get misgendered, is on the phone. But I don't get misgendered very often out in public.
That's actually what my speech therapist was saying. She was saying that like even when people do all the work and like they get their voice they want, they often still have issues over the phone.
Yeah.
Because a lot of communication isn't just visual. Voice.
Yeah, it's very much.
That's why I'm so like picky on when I do their podcast. I want to do it video.
Yeah. Or
even if I don't use your video, like I want it for our conversation.
Yeah. Please don't.
Oh, you're getting on there. You're getting on there. We got to be visible.
Yeah, of course.
We have to represent.
Without a doubt, and I mean, it's great that you've started that vocal journey, and hopefully you do have the time to put into it to make it worthwhile. I know there are a few other people who are doing things like that as well, and it's important. If it's important to you. For me, do I hate my voice? Of course I hate my voice. I don't think anybody likes their voice.
Everyone hates their voice.
Yeah, especially
You know how long it took me to get used to hearing my voice on this podcast?
Yeah.
If I would edit the thing and I would never listen to it again.
Yeah, and it's a struggle for some people to hear themselves, whether it's on the podcast, or if they, do a voicemail message or something like that, and somebody plays it back in front of them, or whatever, and they, I don't sound like that, do I? Oh my god, that's fucking awful, blah blah blah. You know, I'm the same. I don't like my voice. However, it is my voice. It's the same when I look in the mirror. I still see me, unfortunately. I when I bump into people that I've maybe not seen for a while, like, oh, you're looking great, blah blah, and I'm like, I don't see it because I'm looking at me every day.
I was gonna say that I haven't really seen you a lot in the last year, and I think you look great.
Well, thank you very much.
And that is very genuine. I'm not just saying that because you brought it up. I've been thinking that this whole time.
Thank you. Makeup is wonderful.
Yeah. All I do is lips.
Yeah, no, I do powder mostly. I generally don't do foundation, but I do powder just to even the colour out and things like that. A little bit of highlighter and things like that. But that's because I was out earlier on. Went food shopping, and then I went out for lunch with my mum and other members of my family. So it was nice. So I always try and make a little bit of effort. I'm not saying that lipstick on its own isn't effort, by the way.
I put very little effort into makeup. It's lipstick. That's all I do, and I'm so good at it. Like I just
yeah,
bloop, bloop,
yeah, that's
in and out.
The thing is, it's a bold statement, and it's what people who genuinely don't know you will say women because they've got bright red lipstick on.
I do. I wear my lipstick for a lot of reasons. It's not just for the beauty aspect. For me, it is a statement. Yeah. Same reason why, my nails are really bad right now because I work with my hands, but I've been trying to wear like bright red nail polish lately as a sign of awareness, as a form of protest.
It's nothing to do with danger. These hands will hurt you.
Well, if you see red fingers coming towards you, you should be excited or concerned.
I'm not saying.
At the moment, my statement stands.
I'm not sure the light really shows these very well. So mine are trans flags just now.
Nice. Yeah.
So I got that for Trans Pride. So they're actually getting done tomorrow. So tomorrow there'll be probably some form of pink, more than likely and glittery. Knowing me.
Let's see. If I can reach this. Speaking of nail polish, because I never go get it done. I just do it myself because I'm
lazy.
Cheapo. I'm cheapo. But I started using this OPI quick rapid dry stuff. It works really well, and it should dries quick. And
is that not just because it's really hot over there? No.
No. Like I've used other like quick dry stuff, and it says like, oh, it's good in a minute or whatever, but you still like touch it like an hour later and it still fucks up.
There's a Rimmel one that's meant to dry in 60 seconds, and yeah, you're right. In an hour, you can still be like, oh crap, I've ruined that nail.
This stuff doesn't do that.
Solid. Awesome.
Yeah, it's solid. And
so
I work with my hands in a very hard construction type job, and it's been on all week.
Yeah.
I know, not much of a thing to say for it, but that's one coat, just one coat.
Most of mine are okay apart from my thumb. My thumb is ruined. But I'd say they're getting done again tomorrow. I don't know what colour it won't. Generally, it's not bright red. Although I have had bright red. I quite like. I'm not going to say subtle because it's definitely not subtle. They're never subtle. And there's usually the ring finger. Usually has a different colour. It wasn't this time because they were for Trans Pride. I will probably do that. it's quite nice just to sit there and let somebody else do it. Although it does take a while.
It's nice. It's nice and pricey. That's why I don't do it.
Well, mine's is not pricey. I'm only paying £15, which is about 20 or so of your American dollars.
I mean, if I go, I'm gonna want to do the whole
American dollars these days. Who knows?
Yeah, well, yeah. What are our American didgeridoos anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Whenever I go to the nail salon, like, I want to do all of it. I don't want to just go for my fingers. I want to go sit in the chair and get my feet rubbed and if I'm gonna do that, I'm not gonna buy the cheapo not the cheapo package. I'm gonna buy the fancy package because I'm there like, and then it's like quickly $100+ or whatever, and it's like fuck, I can't afford that. For me, that's unsustainable.
Yeah,
especially with as bad as I am with my hands.
I'm like once, sometimes twice a month. If I've got events on, it's more likely to be twice. But I try and make it last about 4 weeks, if I can. And so these got done the week before the 29th. So what they did, I think they got done during the week, possibly. So that's 4 weeks ago. So these have been on my fingers for 4 weeks. So, and the fact that I've only damaged one, I'm fucking proud of myself.
Nice. That's that pride you got on your fingernails.
Yeah, damn right. I don't mind no, I didn't hit anybody. I didn't see my sister, so I definitely didn't hit anybody. But yeah, I mean, I think red lipstick, red fingernails, or toenails, or whatever. People associate that with femininity. So the fact that you're not doing any other makeup, just those nice red lips, is enough generally, because most people be like, red lips, not a man. That's what their thoughts are.
Unless I'm at work, then it's always, oh, sir, and it's like,
yeah, fuck off.
How the fuck do you see sir?
Yeah, I know.
Just because I'm taller than you?
Yeah.
I'm stronger than you? Like, sorry.
I deal with Indian customer services for HP through my work. And yeah, you're like, what's your name? Sarah. Alright, sir. What part of the fucking name Sarah screams sir to you? But I usually will just politely say to them, it's ma'am, not sir. And they will probably continue to sir me because they just don't get it. And that's why I usually use the chat function rather than the phone, because then I'm less likely to get served. And yeah, anytime I go out, unless I'm just popping to the shops, which is like 4 minutes away, I'm going to wear makeup because it makes me feel more comfortable in myself. Unlike one of the members of our community, who I won't name, but we all know who I'm talking about, it doesn't take me hours. I can do full face makeup in about 20 minutes. 25 if I'm doing rather than just one colour with my eyes. It takes me a wee bit longer to just get it looking the way I want it to look. And I always do my eyes first, because then I don't have fallout of makeup over the rest of my makeup. And because there always is fallout from my eye makeup.
I bet. I did buy some mascara recently. I did put that on. But I don't really put that on that often.
I have an awesome mascara here. Look at the colour.
Ooh, fancy. Love it.
It totally makes your eyelashes totally pop. I don't wear that very often because it's not an everyday. It's a going out thing. I will probably wear it at the Ceilidh. I will definitely wear it at conference when we have our night out. We have a social night, and the sort of second night, and I always get a diva dress on. I always go and do nice makeup. Not that I don't do nice makeup all the time, honest, but I take my time. And And so yeah, I'll probably do my brows pink if I can find my pink pomade for my brows, and so it'll be proper like, well, my hair will have been pink for a month by then, or just about a month, and because it's getting done for the palace, it will be bright pink for the palace.
Nice. Be visible. That's part of the reason why I wear it, to be more visible.
Yeah.
That's the
I mean,
protest. For me, that's the protest.
You stand head and shoulders above most people anyway, so
true.
You know, you're always visible.
I always have great protest photos.
Yeah, because
I stand over everybody, and I always wear this red dress because I feel like it's like super visible. And then, you know, my red lip and red nails.
Yeah. So, what's his name will be singing Lady in Red to you.
Mm-hmm. Please do. Christopher.
Mr. De Boer. Yeah.
Christopher!
Christopher. But yeah, no, I think, again, coming back to that sort of stuff standing out, there isn't anything wrong with that. There isn't anything wrong at all. One of my neighbours was like, oh, why are you getting pink hair? That's for people who are thin, 20-year-old, going out to Ibiza or somewhere like that. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, walk about. There are so many people who have like pink hair or purple hair or yellow hair or blue hair or whatever, you know, and they ain't all 20-year-old going on holiday. They ain't all thin people. They're people who have no problems at all standing out. They're people who want to say, I don't care what you think. I'm doing this for me. And I see that in you. You talked about me inspiring. You inspire me as well with everything that you do because you're so visible. I'm not making a big joke here.
I mean, you can.
But no, you're visible because you let yourself stand out. Whether it's standing there holding your sign above yourself for 4 hours, what an idiotic person you are for doing that.
I know, my thumb still fucking hurts.
Yeah, but it was worth it. It was important to do that. It was important to be that person that
I'll be doing it,
saw.
And I'll be doing it some more too.
Because
I would be doing it today if I wasn't going to play mini golf after this.
Well,
but if it's still going on, maybe if I can make it, I'll still try to go. But we'll see.
Priorities. I don't know mini golf. For God's sake, play a proper sport like real golf.
I wonder what authority are you telling me about golf?
I don't know. I can't think of any reason why a Scottish person would be talking about authority in golf. Not at all. They're like castles. They're fucking everywhere. Golf courses.
I heard you have a golf course in your yard.
Yeah.
Some say it's a mini golf course.
No, not at all. My hometown, that has a population of 27,000 people, has 6 golf courses within the town. And then there's like, if you go up the coast or down the coast, there's a golf course. One of them, pretty famous for people who like golf, and it had the British Open last year. So of course, yeah, I have no authority on what makes golf. None whatsoever. I didn't used to work at a golf course either.
Oh my goodness.
I hope you enjoy your mini golf.
No, I will.
And that you do get along to the protest if it's still on, because I think just now protesting is the only way that we can show our displeasure at the way our governments, yours and mine, are behaving just now. For us just now, it's a judge that we're against because he didn't listen to trans people. Your government aren't listening to anybody unless they have at least $100 million. You know, if you've not got that, they ain't listening. Generally speaking. And I say that as the government. There will be some politicians who are listening, but there's not enough of them at the moment.
You need the ones that are listening and outspoken. Because you
That's
can listen all day, but if you're not taking any action, you're just a fucking wall.
Yep. Action is louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not enough of them just now that are taking action. There aren't enough of them that are calling out what's happening. You know, the fact that an unelected person and his staff got access to what they got access to.
Insane.
Just shouldn't happen.
Criminal.
Shouldn't happen.
Insane.
You know, and
scary.
It's very scary, and this is when we talk about they'll know. That type of access is why they know. Because that's the sort of shit they'll be looking for.
Yep.
Because they don't care.
They don't
care about privacy.
What are laws to them?
They don't matter because they can buy themselves away from jail.
I have enough money. I mean, we have a fucking convicted felon. 34 counts.
You know,
in office. Rapist.
Musk lost a shit ton of money through Tesla, but he's probably getting that back with the tariff stuff. Because he'll have gone and bought
or Starlink.
Stock. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, government contracts.
I wonder if T-Mobile is still going to go with the whole Starlink thing that they were advertising during the Super Bowl.
I hope not.
I feel like it'd be really bad PR at this point.
You would like to think so, but
I would like to think so, but you know, probably not.
They chase the dollar, don't they? And morals and things like that. We've seen it with lots of different companies who are working with Trump, because they don't want cancelled. They don't want to lose their money, so they're doing what he wants them to do. And it befuddles me. It really does. Because, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind being rich. I wouldn't mind being able to afford to just go wherever I want in the world whenever I wanted. Like, that's a dream. It's a dream for many people.
Who doesn't want the ability to do that?
I also would hope that it wouldn't change my empathy. That I'd still care about other people. You know, we have a community that I think is a great community. Where generally speaking, and I'm going to say generally speaking, we all care for one another. We all want to look after one another. There aren't very many trans people out there, or cross-dressers who don't want to look out for other people and say, just be careful. Or here's a little bit of help. Like, this is, when I first started doing this is what I done. You know, whatever it happens to be, a bit of advice, a bit of just warnings, or whatever. And we all have that in us as a community, and thankfully the majority of us do. There are some out there who have crossed to the dark side because they think it's going to protect them. You know, we had, and again, we'll go back to 100 years ago or 90 years ago.
Back to the first discussion we had.
Where people helped the Germans because it meant that they get treated a little bit more favourable. Now, when I say a little bit more favourable, they still could get shot at any point, they could still end up in a gas chamber at any point, they could still get beaten up at any point, but it was less likely for them than it was for the other prisoners. And I use the word prisoners because they weren't prisoners.
It's very much like the prisoners now in El Salvador. The ones with no trial, no due process.
They're captives. They're not prisoners.
Yeah. That's human trafficking. It's human fucking trafficking at this point.
Yeah. And is there a light at the end of the tunnel at the moment? Probably not. Not really.
There is. There's light. There's light. There's always light. There's always light.
We can't see it very clearly at the moment because everything just seems like one shit show to the next shit show.
We have to be the light that we want to see in the world.
Without a doubt, you know, you can be my lighthouse because you're tall enough.
Yeah, see? And, you know, I can, because I'm so tall, I can see your lighthouse from across the pond. and the country and everything else.
Yeah.
It just takes like a year to get there.
Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, that is the thing. There are people who are out there that are fighting the fight, whether it's within our community or allies. The allies are the most important people just now, because without them, we are in a gulag or whatever.
Yep.
You know, we are in danger. But with them on our side, fighting for us, there is that light. It's a chink of light at the moment. It's not a big circle or anything like that, but it's there. And we, as a group, as a community, have to stick together.
Yeah, yeah. And I was thinking, the more visible you are, the more chances of your allies finding you.
Completely. You know,
and it's sad, scary, but that's the reality of it. It's the facts.
I put up a post on my Facebook on Wednesday about the judgment in the UK, and after it, I put a comment and I said I'm okay. I got mum hugs that day. My mum was here when we heard the decision, and I was sitting at work. I was sitting where I am just now. I was working away. My mum was on the couch, and 3 or 4 people sent me messages at work asking if I was okay, and I started crying. And it was joyous tears because people showed concern and wanted to, and they were allies. None of them were trans, and my mum seen me crying obviously and came over and gave me a hug. And there's nothing better than a mama hug. There really isn't.
Anytime I'm at any kind of event and they have the free mom hugs, I go there and hug every single one of them.
Right, you've got to.
Even when sometimes they'll have free dad hugs, and I take those too.
I'm not bothered about dad hugs. Sorry.
Well, I don't have those anymore, so I take both.
Yeah, quite right.
I don't want to cut our conversation short, even though we've been talking for almost 2 hours now. But I'm gonna have to because I gotta leave soonish.
Mini golf.
For my quote mini golf.
How can a giant play mini golf?
I don't know. It's gonna be like King Kong over there with those giant small windmills.
We're just gonna put you in the middle of one of the holes, and that you're gonna be the obstacle from now on.
Yeah. Hit it in. Get the ball in. But I was thinking just through our conversation too. I wanted to recommend some reading to some folks if anybody's open to that kind of thing. Going back to your talking about like feminism and stuff. The book Whipping Girl is really good by Julia Serano. Really, really good. If anyone's talking about like feminism shit, like read that fucking book because it probably will change your fucking life. Also, like a lot of people in our community for some reason haven't read this yet, but like The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown, like read that shit because that'll also help you and be more visible and yourself.
Yeah. I've got a book that maybe won't resonate so much, but it's called Her Name is Alice, and it's about a young trans woman who took her life due to the long waiting times of gender identity clinics in the UK, and it's written by her mum. And it was recommended to me. I've not read it yet, but my friend has and said that they were in tears reading it. It's my next book that I'm going to be picking up.
That's by Caroline Litman?
Yes.
Or Caroline?
Caroline, and it was Alice, the mother of Alice Litman.
Her Name is Alice, a new 2025 memoir exploring grief, love, and the transgender experience from the mother of Alice Litman. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a slightly different book to the one that you've recommended.
Yeah.
But I think that shows that there are parents out there who care deeply about their child.
There are. They're there. They're out there.
They are, and if you're a parent, please, if your child is different in one way or another, please support them as much as possible.
Most definitely. Well, I think we should end on that note because I think that's a good way to end it. Thanks for joining me, Sarah, and coming back on the CrossYaas podcast.
Thank you very much for. It was supposed to be me talking to you, but I think it was probably me more talking.
Yeah, I know you were the special guest this time. It's okay. We'll come back. We'll do it again. We'll do it again for sure. Yeah. So anyway.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Be visible.